Okay, believe it or not, we're still in the middle of the dinim of stealing. Oh, mazel tov to the chosin. Meshamer Winter got engaged.
Oh, mazel tov. Mazel tov.
Okay, has nothing to do with stealing, by the way. Okay, so the last thing we learned that you're not allowed to, we got into this stuff, yeah. Okay, anyway. Now what happened, one of the Aseret Dibris, one of the Ten Commandments is Leisachmeid. Now there's Leisachmeid and Leisachmeid. There's two of the Aseret Dibris. Leisachmeid means, the Gemara says, what does Leisachmeid mean? It says like this: if you see something that somebody else has and you really want it, and the guy is not interested in selling it, something he owns personally, he likes it, he wants it, and you like it, and you do everything possible, even offering money to buy it from me. Basically, you are coercing me to sell it to you, either you're getting friends to talk to me about it or you're doing it yourself. Then once you get in your mind that you want to buy it, you're over leisachmeid. Even though you're not stealing, you're paying him for it, and eventually the guy's not, you're not ripping it off, but that's leisachmeid. Leisachmeid means that you shouldn't do things that you should desire that person's thing, which eventually leads to leisachmeid. In other words, when you transgress leisachmeid, the second one, you offer money to buy it, then you get two sins. Leisachmeid, you have a desire for it, and we're not talking about stam, yeah, I like it, I like the house, I would like that. We're talking about when you really work on getting it and wanting it, and leisachmeid is when you offer money to it. So then, that's biblically forbidden. It's in 10 Commandments, in fact. Okay, okay, next is like this. We learned the other day that when you steal something, there's a positive mitzvah. If it's still existing, you have to give it back. The only time, the same thing with a ganav, by the way. Now, if the object was changed in a way that it can't go back to its original form before you changed it. Like if you take a piece of silver and you make a kiddush cup out of it, technically you can melt it back and it can go back. It's called shina chayzel l'briyasa. It can go back to the way it was. But if it's a shinu that you change it in such a way it cannot go back to its original form, so then you don't have an obligation to return the object itself. You have to, because you're a kaina by changing the form of it in a way that it doesn't go back to its original way. So then you have to give back the money. Or we said, what happens if the guy you stole it from is not in town? Okay, you don't have to send, by the way, you have to send the money to him. You can tell him that you're ready to pay it back, and when he comes back, you'll pay him the money to his kids if the guy dies. Okay, so again, if somebody steals money from somebody, by the way, and the person passes away, so then you have to give it to the kids. That's the halacha. Okay, next is like this. And we said, why is that, by the way? If you take a beam and put it into the building, then you don't have to destroy the building because it's called takonos hashavim. Chacham made it easy for people to do tshuva, and therefore then you have to give the money. Okay, now the din of this is stam when you steal from an individual. What happens if you steal from a lot of people? A geizel serabim. And there's a very broad term over here. For instance, it says, what happens if a storekeeper had dishonest weights? Instead of a pound weight, it was 9/10 of a pound, whatever. So then, they had 100 people in the stores, so you don't know who you stole from. You stole from 100 people. So that's much worse. Or a person was a member of the community and they collected taxes. Their friends, they charged less than the enemies, they charged more, and things like that. Or everything. The Gemara says like this: Shivasei kasha. It's very difficult for such a person to do tshuva. Why? Because who are you going to give it back to? You don't know who you stole from. So those people that you know you stole from, you have to give it back. So what's the tshuva? So he says you have to do, the Gemara says, Shechnar says, you have to do what's called tzarchei rabim. You have to do communal services for the amount of money that you stole, that even the people you stole from should also benefit from what you're doing. But nevertheless, it says, people that you knew you stole from, you have to pay them money. Now this din is a very broad, practical din that a lot of people probably don't want to hear. You can steal, there's a lot of types of stealing. For instance, if you lie on your age, okay, you want to go to Disneyland, and 12 and over is one price, and under 12 is a different price, and your kids are already 11 and a half or 12 or whatever, but they're a little bit smallish. So you say, okay, he's not 12 yet. So not only are you lying, but even if you don't lie, and you just pay the cheaper rate, that's stealing. You're stealing from the corporation, whoever that corporation is. Same thing applies in anything. You can have a lot of stealings. People always call, it's unbelievable the way people call, can you lie for the age to get on an airplane cheaper or this, whatever it is. I mean, it's biblically forbidden to lie on an age, because then you're stealing plus you're lying. That's a separate issue. But then you have issues like stealing from the city. People can steal from the city or from the government. You have taxes. Or people, you're not going to like this, but I love to say it, people that have handicap plaques when they're not allowed to, that's stealing from the city. And you're stealing from a rabbin, not from a yochid. You're stealing from mamish community. So, which is mamish biblically forbidden for stealing. If somebody is legally, is legal. I'm saying, when teenagers are driving cars with handicap stickers in it, that's pretty sad. But that's, first of all, beside the educational aspect of it, parents are teaching kids basically to cheat, to steal. That's what you're teaching kids, to steal. So anyway, so that's, but it's mamish gezel derabim. And you're also stealing, if you park in a handicapped place, you're taking away from somebody who might need it, who's really handicapped. So all these things that people don't think or don't care about it, but Al Pi Din, it's stealing and lying. It's mamish stealing from a city, what? It's Genevas Das as well, in addition to actual stealing money, because you were supposed to pay the money to the city for the meter, right? Now you're not paying the meter, correct? So basically you owe the city money, and you're not giving it to us. That's called stealing. In English, it's called stealing. In Torah, it's called Geneva. I don't know what language, whatever you want. In addition to that, when you lie about things like ages and all that, that's Genevas Das. It's also stealing. I'll tell you an interesting halacha. You're not allowed to go into a store and ask the price for something. The din Shechnar clear. You're not allowed to go into a store, because Shechnar gives this example. You're not allowed to walk into a store giving the impression that you're interested in buying it. When you're not interested in buying it, you're comparing shopping, comparison shopping. You want to know where, you can get a better deal. So you're shopping around. But when you walk into the store and you ask the guy what's the price, and the guy's getting involved, Shechnar clearly says this case is Genevas Das. So what should a person do? A person that's doing that should walk into the store and say, I'm just looking. He says, start off, I'm just looking. Or you could say, I'm comparison shopping. If you don't want to say that, so you don't have to say that, but you can say, I'm just looking, so the person knows that you're not necessarily interested in buying it. So that's not Genevas Das. Genevas Das is a very broad term. Anytime you have people have a misconception of what you're doing, that's called Genevas Das, which is biblically forbidden, by the way. It's not rabbinic, it's biblically forbidden. So, what are you doing?
Always asking some.
Always asking, you can ask him.
Sometimes people like in Shidduchim, they say, "Oh, I got a heter from a rabbi to buy about my age."
What was the question?
What?
What's the question?
The question is, sometimes when it comes to Shidduchim, they got a heter from a rabbi that they can lie on their age.
And then when you get married and she looks at your passport, so you go out with someone, you can't get married to them because...
1 second. First of all, a lot of rabbis, there's Rabbonim, and then there's Meireh Heirah. Meireh means the people that are functioning as Rabbonim Paskinim. The Rebbe never sent, the Rebbe always sent the Rabbonim Meireh Heirah, that are actually Paskinim Shailas. But we're not having a marriage lesson over here, a shidduch lesson. Marriage is based on truth. If you're basing a marriage on false, don't go out. I'm saying until you get married. Okay, marriage is based on truth. Well, everybody knows it has to be Torah's emes. So you can't lie about your age. First of all, they're going to find out about it later. And then what are you going to say? Well, oh, I made a mistake. No, you're going to say, a Rav gave me a heter to lie? That doesn't exactly make sense. There, by shidduchim, there's a din. It's an Alter Rebbe Shchunach, Sim Kuf Navav, when a person is allowed to lie for certain things. The Alter Rebbe says you're never allowed to lie. You could change, you know, in other words, like, there's an expression in Yiddish, I'll translate in Tehillim. A lie you're not allowed to say, but you don't have to always say the truth either. You don't have to say, not saying the truth is not lying necessarily. There's lying, outward lying. This is my age, you know what it is, and when you lie about the age, that's mamish lying. That there's no heter in the world for anything, even for shalom, for shalom, nothing. Then sometimes the question is, do you have to say the truth? So that you don't have to say, but you can't lie. I mean, that's halacha and shulchan. Can't start a shidduch with lies. Okay, anyway. What? Somebody, the question is, how can the shadchan lie? So, somebody, I mentioned this many times, somebody once asked the Rebbe, this is what they say, it's not printed, this is what they call Tershim al-Peh. Somebody once asked the Rebbe, why do religious newspapers lie? In other words, there was an event from Charedesh, you know, if there was an event with 500 people, they write there was 1,000 people there. If there was 25 people, they write there was 100 people there. So how, they're from people, why are they lying? This is, again, I didn't see it written, but this is what they say. The Rebbe answered them, everybody knows, it's known, that newspapers exaggerate. So everybody knows when a newspaper writes 100, it means 50. Huh? No, when the newspaper writes 100, it means 50. If a newspaper would write the truth that it's 50, so people think, oh, there are only 5 people there. That's not true. In other words, in journalism language, 100 means 50, and 25 means 3, or whatever. So it's not lying, because in that language, that's what it means. So now the question is, in shadchan language, do they lie? I guess so. But that's, you know what? Former people have to be very careful. We used to get...
That's a big issue, because you've got people talking about, and I don't want to get politics, but there's about 30,000 Palestinians there, right? In the meantime, with the president talking about 30,000 Palestinians, we know that, again, without getting political, Hamas's political machine and their marketing machine is a lying machine, but yet these numbers, even though you're making reference to this, make everything look bad. When, you know, but does it make a difference, 5, 10, 15? Not
correct, I'm not saying, again, but in journalist newspaper, that's what, no, I mean, even in journalist newspaper, 30,000 doesn't mean 100. If there are 100 people, then they write 30,000, that's even in journalist language, that's a lie.
It's too much of an exaggeration.
That's, yeah. Listen, there's a Gemara at the end of Hades. The Gemara says, Divrei Torah Lashon Havoy, v'divrei Chacham Lashon Havoy. Torah speaks in the exaggerating terms, and the Chacham speak in exaggerating terms. The Gemara, I remember the rabbinic one, but the Gemara says the biblical one is that when the Meraglim came back, they said to Moshe Rabbeinu, we see Orim Betzureis Ad Hashemayim. They were fortified with walls until the heavens. Right? Now, obviously, there was no city with walls all the way up to the sky. So you see, the Torah is exaggerating. Torah means we meant to say it's very, but they're not lying. There's a difference between exaggerating and lying. Exaggeration.
In that case, it's fake news. It's not even hyperbole.
Huh?
Hyperbole.
No, but there's a difference between exaggerating something when people know you're exaggerating. A guy says, "Oh, there was 1 million people there." I mean, you know there wasn't 1 million people there. Okay, it means there was a lot of people there. But again, if when people used to ask, they don't ask so much anymore, but they used to ask, why do religious people lie and cheat and steal? This is what the non-frum people used to always ask the rabbis. Why is it that the religious people lie and steal? So I used to answer them, religious people don't lie and steal, because if they lie and steal, they're not religious. Religious people don't lie and steal. People that look religious and lie and steal, but they're not religious. They might look religious, they might say they're religious, but if they lie and steal, why are they religious? They're not religious. They're transgressing the top 10 of the Torah. I mean, so religious people don't steal. Why somebody who looks religious steals? So ask him why he looks religious. That's it. So ask him why he looks religious. Okay, so then that's it. Now, okay, one more thing. You're not allowed to buy an object that we started discussing this yesterday. You're not allowed to buy an object that is stolen. Why? Because then you're helping the guy steal, because now that he knows people will buy it, then he can, and by the way, it's no difference, by the way, if you're buying a stolen object from a Jew or a non-Jew. Because a non-Jew is also commanded not to steal. It's one of the 7 Noahide laws. In fact, stealing for a non-Jew is much more severe and stricter than stealing for a Jew. If a non-Jew steals, in the time when Bais Din had the upper hand, a non-Jew who transgressed any of the 7 Noahide laws got killed by Bais Din. Bais Din would kill you. So if a guy stole, and with witnesses, whatever the amount, Rambam says 1, whatever it is, would steal, Bais Din would kill him. If a Jew steals, you don't kill him. So it's worse for a guy to steal than it is for a Jew. So if a guy is selling stolen goods, you can't say, oh, the guy's a guy, and therefore it doesn't matter. No, because on the contrary, you're helping a guy do something worse than what it is. Somebody asked me today at Shaila, they're having a bunch of kids, high school kids, Goyish kids, high school, they want to come to Chabad house to see about Judaism. So the guy asked me, do they have to sit separate, the boys and the girls? I said, the Goyim, what does it sit separate for? I mean, they weren't in the show. They weren't.